What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to DVDs, Nuts, and Dashboard Noises. And yeah, I'm your host, the PMM, the Physical Media Mac. And yes, I am back with not only just a Goodwill hunting video, but also a $1.25 bush. I know, it's quite shocking, isn't it? A video showing off movies from Dollar Tree in 2023. You know, I look back on my channel and I think my last Dollar Tree video, $1.25 bush video, was about 7 months ago, which means, yeah, at the beginning of the year. And it just shows what a pathetic year it's been at $1.25 bush. When I first started making these $1.25 bush videos back in the day, you know, I was making fun of $1.25 bush. And with good reason. I mean, their movies suck. And then all of a sudden, you started seeing a few good movies pop up now and then. This was in 2022, but this has been one god-awful year. I mean, everyone has to admit it. Anyone that makes those videos, if you're still making those videos showing off the same stuff every week, Lord have mercy on your soul. But irregardless, we did find there is a ray of hope. Light is at the end of the tunnel, guys, because we did find a select few good things from $1.25 bush. Also, as normal, I found some stuff at Goodwill, and then also purchasing stuff off of eBay, Amazon, so on and so forth. Now, I beat The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time yesterday. Just wanted to let you guys know. Another bucket list game checked off the list. Incredible title. Now it is in my top 3 favorite Zelda games of all time. But not like, you know, the gold cartridge Zelda is #1. Well, I'm not going to say that. This is my top 3 in no particular order. Ocarina of Time, the gold cartridge, original Legend of Zelda, and then the Super Nintendo's Link to the Past. Those are very interchangeable at this point. They could change at any moment. If I tell you, normally I say the first game's my #1, but it changes sometime. Link to the Past creeps up into 1. That drops to 2. Ocarina of Time I could see being 1, 2. So, just 3 incredible titles. And, yeah, man, let me know if there's a better Zelda game than those 3 games. And I'm going to have to play it, no matter what console it's on. If I need to purchase a Switch, which I eventually will for Metroid Prime 4, and all the remasters as well, or the Switch 2. All right, that's enough video game talk. Let's get into the $1.25 bush finds first. Then we'll move on to the Goodwill stuff, Amazon, eBay. All right, I have no idea if this is good. It's starring Marco Zara, and it's called The Redeemer. It's in a clear case, which I always like. They must pay for the sins. Oh no, they must pay for his sins. Martial arts action magic. Now, the only thing I know about Mark Zorro is, or Zora, Zaror, it's got kind of a weird name. He was in Undisputed 3. And, yeah, this was directed by Ernest Diaz Espinoza, who also directed one of the segments in the ABCs of Death. He also directed another film Marco is in called Kiltro, which, by the way, I like that name. And another movie with Mark in it called Fist of a Condor. So apparently they're a tag team when it comes to movies. Now, again, I don't know if this is good or not. I saw some decent reviews and some people hating on it. Probably a revenge flick, I'm sure. I ain't gonna bother trying to read the back of it. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. I'll let you guys know in a future video if that's any good. Might just send that on to Tyler. I don't know. All right, next up from $1.25 Bush. Now, I used to be big into Godzilla when I was a kid, but nowadays I'm not like the biggest Godzilla fan. I didn't really think that Matthew Broderick Godzilla was pretty whack. I think this one was pretty good. I did watch it once. This is the one that has Bryan Cranston in it, I believe. Yeah. So Godzilla, not a bad find at $1.25 Bush. I don't know if this is something that's been making the rounds in 2023 or not. I'm really not sure. But definitely had to snap on that when I saw it. Yeah, man, Godzilla on Blu-ray. Cool pickup there. And then a movie that I really liked that I talked about in the past that I had on DVD, I just upgraded it out of the furnace. I think this is probably Christian Bale's best acting performance in this. Woody Harrelson's great in it. And then the guy, what's the other guy? Forrest Whitaker is in it. It's a lot of good, there's a lot of big actors in this, man. Good flick. Check that one out if you have never seen it. And again, I don't know if this has been making the rounds or not, and I'm just seeing it for the first time, but this is a pretty cool pickup right here. Rudy Ray Moore in The Human Tornado, which I guess is, I don't know if it's a direct sequel to Dolomite. I guess Dolomite made a bunch of movies. So that character, Rudy Ray Moore, played Dolomite in a ton of movies. And I guess one of the movies is called Dolomite. Does that make sense? It says Dolomite Returns. By the way, I know nothing about Dolomite. I've never really been into the black exploitation genre, and with the occasion of like some Fred Williamson stuff, but yeah, there's tons of black exploitation movies that I've never seen before. So this will be including Dolomite. So this will be a good start for me. Let's just put it to you that way. It says Dolomite returns with a girl army of kung fu killers. That just sounds so badass. This came out in 1976. Basically, Dolomite flees to California, where he helps Queen Bee and her kung fu prostitutes battle a local gangster. Incredible stuff, guys. Incredible stuff. So that was a cool Dollar Tree find right there. Let's see on the back. I hate these stickers. It's almost like a sticker with super glue on it. It's so hard to get off. Yeah, just tears. Oh, actually coming off pretty good actually that time. The most essential Dolomite movie, someone says. Alright, yeah, man, excited about checking that one out. Let me get a sip here. I'm going without coffee today. As I almost choke on that. Damn, that spin drift is harsh. Woo, I shouldn't have put so much vodka in it. Alright, I thought this was a cool pickup right here. I've never seen this as well. Scars of War. Now, I've been into all these like Italian post-apocalyptic movies, and we're going to talk about, I believe, one or two in this video. And post-Vietnam movies, Italian movies and stuff. So, decided, hey man, let's check out some American, assuming these guys are from America. I'm sure some of them are, maybe Canada. But Scars of War, Vietnam 4-movie collection. Now it has Casualties of War on it with Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn. And then it has some movies that I'm kind of interested in seeing that I've never seen before. A movie called Alamo Bay. It's got a young Ed Harris in it, who gets out of the Vietnam War and moves to like this small fishing town in Texas. And the Vietnamese start coming in there, owning businesses and competing with him in the fish industry. And obviously he has a problem with that, so it turns into, I guess he starts a war with the Vietnamese in that small town. And then a movie called Birdie that I've never seen. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. That has a young Nicolas Cage in it. So Alamo Bay is post-Vietnam. Casualties of War is during Vietnam, obviously. And then I think Birdie is post-Vietnam. And then the last movie on here, which is an early Michael Douglas film, it's called, I think Summer Tree. Yeah, Summer Tree. So yeah, man, I thought I would check out the 3 films on here that I've never seen. Cool stuff. All right, let's see if there's anything else I found from Buck 25. Oh yes, definitely a highlight here. I did not own this film, and you know, this is a lot of people's favorite M. Night Shyamalan films, are up there with some of the best. The Visit. I remember enjoying this one, but I've not seen this in probably, I don't know, 10 years. I need to revisit this one. We'll talk about this in one of the next videos. Basically, it says on here, one of the reviews, what Jaws did for sharks and Psycho did for showers, The Visit will do for grandparents. So this is a creepy grandparent movie with the grandkids in it. From the writer and director of The Sixth Sense and Signs, an original thriller from M. Night Shyamalan. Definitely a cool Buck 25 Bush pickup. All right, so that's it for the Dollar Tree stuff. Now, let's move into the Goodwill finds. All right, now, and by the way, shout out to Old Dog. He probably won't watch this video. We go online and play all the COD games, and all the COD games are like getting popular again, all the old school COD games. Even like young people are starting to play the old COD games, which is pretty crazy. But he was in Vietnam, speaking of the Vietnam films we were just talking about, and was shot in Vietnam and still having issues to this day, you know, 40 odd years later, maybe even longer. Like, when was Vietnam? Was Vietnam in the early 70s? 80s, 90s, 2000? Yeah, like 40 plus years ago, he's still having problems with his back because he was shot in his back in Vietnam, which is pretty crazy. Shout out to the soldier, Old Dog. All right, speaking of soldiers, it's a nice segue here. I picked up this 4 film pack. This was factory sealed, but I had to open it up. So I watched the first film here, The Substitute. And by the way, this is a genre that's very, there's a lot of these movies in this genre. You have the Class of 1984. I think there was another Class of movie made. And then you have Dangerous Minds. Maybe even Lean on Me to a certain extent. But there's a lot of these movies where this substitute or this teacher goes into school. The kids do not know that they're ex-military, that they're badasses, and there's gangs at the school. And basically that's what you have here. The first film came out in 1996. It was directed by Robert Mandel, who directed a movie called School Ties that you might have seen with Brandon Fraser. Am I saying that right? Then it's got the I can't think of the other actor's name, but School Ties is a pretty good, cool film. It's about they find out a kid's Jewish, and it's about racism and stuff. But anyway, starring this, and only the first film, he bailed out after this. Tom Berenger is basically the substitute in this film. And it was funny because I went on Wikipedia to kind of look at his career, and I was thinking, okay, Treat Williams, who I love, who is kind of hokey and cheesy. I love the fact that he did the 2, 3, and 4, which I can't wait to watch those. But you know, I just figured probably Tom Berenger had a bunch of great roles after this, but no, man. Bunch of movies that I have not seen, bunch of box office flops, one after another. So it was kind of odd that he refused to do any of the other films. Anyway, Ernie Hudson's in this as well. A lot of people from like gang movies and ghetto crime films and stuff in this film. Ernie Hudson, I said. Raymond Cruz. I don't know if you guys remember, he was in Training Day. Very young Raymond Cruz, man. He was super young in this film. He was also in, I think, the La Llorona films. La Llorona film. Was it The Curse of La Llorona? I don't remember. But anyway, Glenn Plummer's in this. He was in South Central. And then Sharon Corley was in this. And I've never seen him in any other film besides New Jersey Shore, which is basically a Grand Theft Auto movie. And it's got like some rappers in it. I think Fat Joe is in it, or who was in this film? No, not Fat Joe. I was going to say Big Pun. Another big fat rapper back in the day, old school rapper. I can't think of his name. But anyway, New Jersey Shore is very underrated hood film, ghetto film. I put that probably, it's definitely it's definitely top 10, but it might even be in that top 5, maybe at the 5 spot. It's a really good film. But anyway, who else is in this? Mark Anthony is in this. He's like the one of the gang members, one of the gang leaders at the high school. William Forsythe, obviously he was in American Me, which, by the way, definitely a top 5 hood movie, without a doubt. That's one of my favorites. And who else? Louis Guzman from Carlito's Way. And then Diane Vanoda was in this, and she's hot, man. I know I've seen her in something before. She's not I wouldn't say she's like a mainstream actress. Usually do not like brunettes, but she's definitely a sexy chick. Anyway, that was long-winded. There's a lot of people in this movie. But yeah, basically there's gangs at this school. The principal is corrupt, and he's like working with the gangs, Ernie Hudson. And basically the female character, who's played by Diane Vanoda, gets injured by the gang because they go after her one day because she's trying to stand up to them. Well, little do they know, her on and off boyfriend is Tom Berenger, which is an ex-Navy SEAL who's now like a mercenary. I don't know if he's I think he's from I think he was a Navy SEAL. He's just a badass altogether. But now he's a merc. And so obviously he finds out about it, and then he infiltrates the high school by becoming a substitute there. And then it's basically him against the gangs. Pretty good film, man. Pretty, you know, it's not my favorite film of all time, but it's a decent film. It runs way too long. It's an hour, like an hour 50, man. So it's hard getting through a little bit of it, but you know, I watched it in multiple viewings and got through it. Yeah, man, pretty fun film. Not bad at all. And basically, like the mercs, he's got a merc team, and like one of the mercs is like now a janitor at the school. Like they all infiltrate the school to help. And basically, like the Mark Anthony's character is working for like a drug lord they're smuggling cocaine and selling cocaine in the school and stuff. But I cannot wait to watch the Treat Williams. I'm hoping that they are all like super cheesy, and they go totally away from the vibe of the first film and just make it super hokey, man. That'd be badass. You gotta love some Treat Williams. All right, enough of that. Damn, woo! Vodka's hitting on another level, boy. All right, now, a movie that I don't know too much about. I like picking up these Blockbuster exclusives sometimes. This is from the Dragon Dynasty series, I guess. I notice I see a lot of Dragon Dynasty films at Goodwill, but I just don't know to pick them up or not. But this one got really good reviews. The City of Violence. This is a 2006 film, stars Ryu Sung-won and Jung Do-hung. I love saying those names. It just gives me great joy. Which both of them wrote this film, and Ryu actually directed the film. Basically, this dude gets killed by some thugs, and his childhood friends reunite at his funeral. This is like they haven't seen each other for like 20 years. And then it becomes a revenge flick. They start investigating, trying to find out who murdered their friend back in the day. And then, yeah, some revenge starts popping off. Smart, slick, and furiously paced, The City of Violence is part detective story and mayhem. I can't read it. I definitely gotta get my prescriptions fixed on these sunglasses. But yeah, man, pretty cool. All right, now. Oh yeah, picked this up yesterday. This has Die Hard ripoff written all over it. Big fan of Michael Dudikoff. I don't believe I've seen this before, but this is definitely a Die Hard ripoff. Virtual Assassin. 1995 flick, also known as Cyberjack. Obviously Michael Dudikoff, but it also has Brian James in it, who's one of my favorite baddies. You can see him with the glowing eyes. I feel like the last film I watched with him, he had glowing eyes like that. The next step in evolution, and they want it. So I guess this big internet, let me see, let me read the back of it. When a maniacal cybervillain takes over a high-tech laboratory and holds the occupants of the building hostage, it's up to ex-cop Nick James, Michael Dudikoff, to free the employees and stop the theft of this destructive computer virus. This has got to be badass. If this is not badass, I don't know what can be badass. Bruce Willis, replaced by Michael Dudikoff. That'd be funny if the same guy, the same terrorist leader that was in Die Hard was actually in this film. That would be hilarious. All right, very interesting pickup here. Now, I started watching the first, 15 minutes of this movie, and I was like, holy shit, did I pick up a movie that I already own? Because the movies are kind of similar, especially the beginning, and they're basically the same shit, with a little bit of a story change. But, yeah, so this is what I was confusing it with, and they both star Ron Marchini, who is a badass, let's just face it. And that was and also starred Adam West, who was Batman back in the black and white Batman days, which I thought was so funny. And that's Omega Cop. And I talked about this in one of my past videos. It's just an action-packed, badass B-movie. Just nothing but guns shooting, fucking explosives going off, and, you know, Marchini kicking ass. And then, I did not know, like a year later, they released a direct sequel to that film that I found at Goodwill here, Karate Cop. Now, if you don't know Ron Marchini, he's basically viewed by many, like, you know, badass martial artists as one of the top karate tournament fighters of all time. So this guy is the real deal Holyfield, guys. And, yeah, I think Omega Cop came out in 91. Karate Cop came out in 1992. Now, I'm just going to explain one scene during this film. He gets shot in the leg, and he builds a fire, and he puts a pair of needle nose pliers into the fire, the ends of the needle nose pliers into the fire. Then he pulls out he puts that needle nose in the bullet hole, basically next to his knee, and pulls out the bullet, and then sprinkles gunpowder on the bullet hole, and then lights the fucking bullet hole on fire. Lights the gunpowder on fire and explodes, I guess to cauterize the fucking cut. I mean, that was a badass scene, man. That was one of those, you could just tell, anyone that does that's got to be like on a Rambo level. I mean, this guy is a legend. Now, it's funny because Marchini is not like, facially, he's not the guy you would put like as a superstar, you know. I don't even think his body type really, but he's kind of an unlikely hero, but he's such a real badass in real life. He kind of pulls it off, and he's as wooden as possible. He's like one of the most wooden actors I've ever seen, but it makes it, gives it some hilarity. But yeah, man, fun action film. Both of these I highly recommend, man. Check them out. I want to do something like that, man. I don't want to get shot, though. All right, maybe I don't want to do that. All right, now, moving on here. All right, let's go into this right here. I watched one of these. So, apparently there's this franchise called One of 8 Films to Die For. And they have, like, different years they came out. I don't know how many they did, but this was one of the years. And I picked up 2 of these movies. I don't know what the years were on these. I don't have any notes on these, which is odd. But anyway, the first film is Gravedancers. And these are put out by Lionsgate. Yeah, this is super complete too. In nice condition here, besides that stupid Walmart sticker right there. It's so hard to get off. I see people on YouTube talk about this movie, and they all have that stupid sticker on there. It's like impossible to get off without damaging the cardboard. Now, this was not too bad. I mean, it was actually pretty good. Now, I was watching another YouTuber, and he's like, oh, man, this is my favorite of the series. I'm like, oh, God. If this is your favorite of the series, then it's definitely going downhill from here. But, yeah, not too bad. The creature effects were pretty cool in the film. And basically what happens is, which they never explain, if I remember correctly, which is so stupid. In the beginning of the movie, a girl dies in a supernatural way, but they never, like, follow up on that. And then, so later on, kind of what I explained in one of the other films, these friends reunite after all these years to go, they haven't seen each other, and they go to her funeral. Well, apparently 2 of them went to the funeral and the other one skipped out on the funeral. So they actually reunite after that. I guess they, after the funeral's over or whatever. And then they get drunk together, and the one guy's like, hey, let's go to the funeral. I want to say goodbye. And, you know, and they're like, nah, we're not doing that. And they're like, don't you want to say goodbye? They're like, we did that already. It's called a funeral. And, but anyway, he gets all drunk. And at first they don't want to go, but then he goes off to the cemetery, brings some drink and a radio and stuff to party. And then they follow behind him. And so they get drunk, and some secrets are revealed, and this and that. And all of a sudden, he's like, hey, let's dance. And he finds like some kind of note that was left on a gravestone. It's like this kind of poem about the undead or whatever. And he reads it, and then they put the radio on and they start dancing. That's why it's called Gravedancers. And apparently this part of the cemetery was for people who committed like heinous crimes, or like murderers and rapists, and like the worst of the worst are put in this certain burial plot away from everybody else. Well, they just so happen to be dancing on those graves. And the ghost of those graves come back and haunt all these people and their families later on. But like I said, the creature effects are pretty good at it. And man, they really blew their load. Like, it almost reminded me of the Frighteners. They must have spent a lot of money on this. There's like a giant skull, ghostly skull effect that's like chasing them around at the end. And I'm like, holy fuck, that looks like a big budget film. Yeah, really nice special effect. And the other effects weren't too bad either, man. It was pretty decently done. And there was some creepy moments in the film. The acting is absolutely horrible in it. But yeah, not too bad. Nothing super great, but all right, next up here is a film that I have not seen, and this is called Unrest, with another stupid Walmart sticker. I think this has something to do with a mortuary. Like, it all takes place in a mortuary. Yeah, that's what this is. So yeah, man, this one's complete as well. Introducing 8 films to die for. What do they got here? You got Penny Dreadful, Dark Ride, Wicked Little Things, The Abandoned, The Gravedancers, what we talked about, Unrest, Reincarnation, and The Hamiltons, I think. Jesus Christ, I'm losing my eyes. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a future video. All right, what other Goodwill goodness can I bring forth? All right, next up here. This is a high school flick. It's supposed to be a really good one, man. It's been like, I don't know, 20 years since I've seen it. So I remember like almost zero about it. But yeah, this came out in 1987. It's kind of like a high noon premise where this nerd at the school accidentally does something wrong to the bully of the school. And the rumor is that the bully in the school is murdered someone at the last school, which is probably not true. But that's the rumor that's going around. And he basically tells the kid, the nerd, he's like, hey, after school at 3 o'clock, I am going to beat that ass in front of the school. Right? Yeah, 3 o'clock high. Supposed to be really funny, man. It's a comedy. And like, this is one of those things where everybody's had this, where there's a bully at their school that failed like 3 years in a row. That's like growing a beard and, you know, is like way older than everybody else in the school. So he feels like now he can bully kids. I had someone in my school called Sinfo. The dude actually had a pirate's effing name. I mean, go figure, right? But yeah, so this is probably fun. That was factory sealed. Definitely want to check that out. Seen some good reviews on it. It's supposed to be one of the best teenage high school films ever made. I don't know if that's true, but we'll find out. All right, everything else is ordered off of Amazon or off of eBay. Let's go ahead and go with this one, man. This was an incredible film here. It says the most controversial horror film ever made. A film by Lucio Fulci. The New York Ripper. Blue Underground, guys. Now, this came out in 1982. This is a movie that just a movie that, I don't know why I can't speak today. A movie that just became aware to me in the past few years. I never even heard of it. But, man, I'm happy that I picked up on it and actually purchased it and watched it, man, because this is an incredible film here. So this came out in 1982. All the exterior shots of the film were filmed in New York. And it definitely captures that seediness of New York, that filthiness of New York, just like Cruising, by the way, did in the Al Pacino film, right? Now, if I had to compare this like any movie, I'd probably compare it to Maniac with Joe Spinelli, but not like entirely. This is definitely its own movie. And I remember like the beginning of this movie, he like catches one of these girls on a boat that, you know how you can park cars on a boat and it goes across the harbor so you can go, you know, over there with your car. He catches her like all by herself, like doing graffiti inside of a car or whatever. And then she moves over when he opens the door to the passenger side and is trying to get out of the window. And he's got a switchblade. The guy in this, the killer, the New York Ripper, his gimmick is to kill women with a switchblade or a razor blade, like a flat razor. And basically, she's like screaming, and you think maybe he stabbed her, but you don't see it. And then it turns away, and then it shows like something else, and you're like, oh man, this is one of those films. It's like not even showing the killing. This can't be. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden it flashes back to him grabbing her by the hair, pulling her inside the car, taking that switchblade to her private area and cutting her from a private area all the way up to her breast. And I'm talking about bloody, like really great practical effects, like pretty hardcore shit. And throughout this film, it's nothing but that, guys. There's a scene where he actually he's not just like stabbing people, he is dissecting them, which is kind of a little bit fake because it's almost so orchestrated what he's doing to these women while they're alive. But this one part, he's like cutting this woman with a straight razor blade, just like dissecting her. And then he runs, they do a close-up of him running the razor blade over her eyeball and cutting her eyeball in half. It is pretty fucking intense, man. Yeah, man, this was definitely highly controversial at the time. I think that the UK actually had this movie banned all the way up to like 2012. It was banned from from the UK. So yeah, man, an intense film. Now the gimmick in this film is, it's so weird. The killer makes duck noises, like quack quack noises. Like he makes noises like he's a duck. And he's like effing with the police, calling them, dropping hints, telling them, you know, he's gonna kill people. He'll call them and be like, I'm gonna kill her. Quack, 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 quack. I'm gonna kill her tonight. And just this weird, like kiddish, like it's almost like Donald Duck is like the serial killer in this film. It's so bizarre. And you would think that it does not work, but it actually works really well. It's very like creepy, man. It's just it's so funny though, man. It just cracks you up. But yeah. He's like, I'm gonna dissect this girl tonight. It's just so. I'm probably doing it. I'm not doing it justice, but he's like making like, not just like quacking, but making other like weird like throat noises like that sound like a duck. It's just so odd. But yeah, man, this is a highly entertaining film, and it has this part at the end with this young girl, and you're like, who the hell is this? She's missing her arm, and I'm like, this is making no sense. And then it brings it back. It ties it into the reason why he's doing what he's doing, and it actually makes sense. And I think it's pretty brilliant, man. I gotta say, this is one incredible film. I've seen some people talk shit about this film and say it's one of Lucci's worst, or Fulci's worst, but I don't know. I'm not extremely knowledgeable about Fulci films, but I can't imagine this being one of his worst, man. This is a pretty intense giallo slasher film. I like it. I give it high marks. All right, watched this last night. I don't have any notes on it, but this is pretty funny, man. I gotta say, this is pretty well done. When I read reviews on it, I was like, oh, man. I mean, first of all, I'm a huge cyborg film fan. So a movie called Manborg, I'm gonna pick that up regardless if it's bad or not, and give it a shot. And when I read reviews about it, it's like, it's all green screen. It's literally from start to finish green screen shit. They're not lying. It is a ton of green screenery. I will not lie about that. But it's done in such a fun way. It's just an ode to a love letter to 80s and 90s action films. And it's got a pretty good story to it, too. And the characters are very likable. And it's got some fun action. It's super over the top and cheesy. And but it works, man. And it's only an hour long, guys. It's just 60 minutes long. And it's kind of touching, too. The end of the movie is kind of touching. I don't know if you can see the shots there, but pretty much tell you what's going on with the hokiness that is to come if you watch it. All right, have not seen this film yet, but it looked like something I'd want to see. Another post-apocalyptic film, Warrior of the Lost World. And this came out in 1983. It was directed by the legendary David Worth, who, I'll just give you two movies. Bloodsport and Any Which Way You Can with Clint Eastwood. Absolutely incredible. Stars Robert Ginty, who was... I was first introduced to in an incredible revenge film called The Exterminator. Now, the bad guy in this film, from what I'm hearing, is Donald Pleasence, obviously from Dr. Loomis from the Halloween franchise. And I'm a big fan of Donald Pleasence, so this should be incredible. After a devastating nuclear war, an evil empire known as the Omega Force has come to rule the earth. The force is led by Professor, a wicked tyrant who rules the controlling technology and arbitrarily executing anyone who rebels against them. As this terrifying post-apocalyptic world hurtles towards total destruction, a warrior, technologically advanced and pure in spirit, passes through the wall of illusion and becomes the leader of the resistance movement. Now, it's up to this courageous maverick to stop Professor and destroy his Omega militia. Incredible! Can't wait to see this, guys. Cannot wait to see it. We're at 44. Yep, it's gonna be a typical hour. We might finish right under an hour here. All right, 2 more films here to talk about, guys. You guys know I love my Killer Rat films. I was destined to see this movie. It was going to happen sooner or later. I just had to find the right price on it. And a recommendation to you guys, always look for the Spanish release with English audio of films that are expensive that were released in the United States. Now, I got a really good deal on this. It almost seems bootleggish to me, but it looks fine. The DVD, the clarity looks just like any other DVD I've ever seen. And I can't complain about it. If it's a bootleg, then I'm happy with it. Now, this came out in 1976. It's a, let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. It was directed by Bert Gordon. And if you do not know who he is, this is probably a movie that I need to see. In 1977, the following year, he directed a movie called Empire of the Ants, which sounds badass. I definitely need to check that out, which was based on an H.G. Wells novel. I think Empire of the Ants was based on an H.G. novel. And this film right here, Food of the Gods, was based on an H.G. Wells short story. Or maybe it's the reverse. I think it's the reverse, actually. But it's not based on the whole novel. It's just based on like a segment in the novel. Now, this stars an actor named Marjo Gartner, who is in one of my favorite Laserdisc films that I own called Hellhole, which I never would imagine he was in that film. But he was also in American Ninja 3 with Michael Dudikoff. Was Dudikoff in 3? I'm pretty sure he was. Maybe not. But anyway, now, he kind of reminds you of like the American Greatest Hero character. I can't remember that actor's name. He kind of looks like him a little bit. But, all right, let's get into this one. Basically, the premise is this married couple finds this substance bubbling from the ground. Hence the title, The Food of the Gods. And they feed it to their chickens, and their chickens grow larger than humans. Next, a wasp gets into it and takes it back to the wasp nest, and now there's these massive wasps flying around the wooded area. And then finally, of course, rats get into it they make a hole in the baseboard and get in there and start eating this stuff. Now, what happens is Marjo's character is a professional football player, and him and some buddies go hunting in the woods, in this neck of the woods where all this shit is going on, unbeknownst to them. And one of the hunters is attacked by a friggin' human-sized wasp, and his whole body, like, swells up, like, really kind of eerie-like, and he dies, right? So they're basically, Marjo's character is basically looking for, you know, a telephone, and he's searching through the woods and stuff, because they're like deep in the woods. And this is way before cell phones, right? And he comes up on this lady's house, and she's just like staring at the window. She's acting like she's not there. I guess she lets him knock on the door and doesn't answer it, but she's watching him like very closely. And then they show him go over to the chicken coop, and he opens up the chicken coop and goes inside. And then all of a sudden you're introduced to these giant human-sized chickens that look so hilarious. And they're pecking at him, and to the point where they're like tearing his clothes off. They knock him to the ground, and then you can see the giant chicken's claws like clawing at him. It looks so freaking funny, man. And he ends up grabbing a pitchfork and killing one of the chickens and getting out of there. And the lady finally comes to the door, and he's like, "What the fuck's going on with your chickens?" And she's like, "Oh, sir, is there any way you could check on something in my house? I wouldn't ask you if..." Basically, he's asking her for a phone and stuff. She's like, "I don't have one, but could you please check on something for me?" And he goes in there, and she's like, "Are these rat holes?" And he looks and there's like rat holes in her baseboard. And he's like, yeah. He's like, did I not just tell you you have giant fucking chickens? And so it's so funny. But I don't know, maybe she was thinking that they're gonna grow into giant size as well. But there's like a wasp right in front of her eating out of the substance, so I don't know. But yeah, man, the coolest part of this film, guys, is I guess this Bert Gordon guy was an effects guy, and you can tell by watching this film. Yes, they do a lot of they build a lot. At least I'm assuming they build a lot of small sets, right? And they have real rats like crawling all over these sets, which is badass. But you can have that. You know, I could probably, you know, if I paid someone to build the sets, I could get some rats and film that. Anyone can do that, right? But the ingenious directing in this film, they're able to do that, but then segue into real humans being right there watching it, and all of a sudden giant sized rats, which I'm assuming are just like people dressed in these rat costumes, which is, by the way, is just as funny as the chickens. It is so effing hilarious. But it's also gory, too, because they got those big rat teeth, and they're biting and tearing flesh. It's so badass, guys. But, like, there's one scene. I'm trying to explain this right to you guys. There's one scene where there's an RV, right? A real-size RV. And this couple is camping in the woods, and they're inside the RV, like, drinking coffee or eating breakfast or whatever. And, you know, like I said, it's a real-size RV, real people, you know. And all of a sudden, they hear a noise on the roof, and then the guy exits the RV and looks up, and there's a giant rat on the roof, but you can see the giant rat. You can see him being a normal human. I don't know how they do it. It's like so weird. And then she comes outside, and then they like run away, and they look back, and it shows the RV with the giant rats on top of it. And yeah, the way he segues from the small sets into the real size sets is just unbelievable, man. It's done so well. And hopefully I'm describing that right. But I mean, it's phenomenal. You know, all of a sudden you see these little rats, and they're on top of a house or on top of a gas station. And then all of a sudden they're giant rats on top of a human being, killing a human being. Yeah, I was really impressed with this, guys. This is definitely moved up there as one of my favorite killer rat films of all time. I'm still not going to say it's #1. I don't know if it's #1. I think Of Unknown Origin might still be at #1. Rats Night of Terror. No, not Rats Night of Terror. What's the other one? I always forget the name of the other film. I was looking at, it's because I have the Spanish release and it's written in Spanish. That's why I always forget. But this is right up there in my top 3 for sure right now. Yeah, man, really cool flick. And again, seems a little bootleggish, the writing on the back of it. And even the DVD. But I mean, this could have been like just a non-artwork DVD. They literally have artwork on it. So, I mean, you know, there's a barcode on the back of it. So, I don't know. Excellent film, man. Excellent killer rat action in this one. Giant killer rats are so funny and badass. Oh, and then I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but like at the end of the movie, the substance is still there. They try to destroy it, and I guess one of the jars like floats away in a river, and then the next thing you know, should I spoil it? The next thing you know, cows get into it. And then I won't tell you what happens after that. It's not that simple. It's not like cows just grow to be enormous size, the size of elephants. There's like a twist to it at the end of the film, which is really fun. Yeah, man, enjoyed this one, man. Good killer rat shit. Oh, I forgot. I got a laser disc to show off to you guys. I don't want to forget that. It's right over here. I almost forgot. I gotta go grocery shopping for the week after this, which I dread. That over there. All right, so I showed off these post-apocalyptic films, all directed by the same director last week, and I told you I was going to watch these movies. So I finally got around to watching the first film, 1990, The Bronx Warriors. They're all tied together in some form or fashion. Now, maybe some looser than the others, but they do have some tie-ins. Now, every film was directed by D. Enzo G. Castellari. The Bronx Warrior, like the main antagonist in this film, his name is Mark Gregory. Now, I've always seen like this cover that's a badass cover art, and it's on one of the Thunder Warrior movies. So Mark Gregory stars in all the Thunder Warrior films. There's 3 of them: Thunder Warriors 1, 2, and 3. And it's got this badass Italian artwork on it, where he's holding like this big ass, almost like one of those Predator guns that spins around and shit. And it's got all this stuff blowing up in the background. I've always like really admired that cover. And as soon as I saw that cover, I knew I had to own that movie. Man, I don't know what is going on with these films, guys. You can only find them on VHS. They were never released on DVD. They were never released on Laserdisc, from my knowledge. And man, I need Blue Underground to release those films, or some boutique label, because I read up on that Thunder Warriors films, and they're Rambo ripoffs, the shit that I love, and it sounds really badass. I guess it's called Thunder Warrior because the guy's an Indian, and he went away to fight for the United States in the quite possibly the Vietnam War. And when he comes back, he's something happens where he's beat up and left for dead. And he basically, the movie's about him going for revenge, just like Rambo. Now, and he played in other movies too, other like kind of post-apocalyptic films. But his career was weird because it's like he was busy during the 1980s. He made a bunch of movies from 1981 all the way to 89, and then he completely disappeared. He made no movies after 89, which is so bizarre. And then I just found out he committed suicide in, he committed suicide at the age of 48, and back in like 2000 something or whatever. So not sure what was going on with that. He overdosed on pills apparently. Now, real sad actually. So rest in peace to him. And although, man, I don't know if you can rest in peace if you commit suicide. It's pretty rough. But anyway, Fred Williamson also plays in this film as a gang leader, and he's almost like a, I think his name is Ogre, but he keeps on saying he's the king. He's like this pimp-looking character. He's got like prostitutes and all these badass cars, and he's got a throne that he sits on, and so he's cool as hell in this film. And Vic Morrow plays the baddie in this movie. I love Vic Morrow. He died in, rest in peace to him, in the from a helicopter blade in the filming of the Twilight Zone, the movie, if you guys don't remember that. Now, basically what happens in this film is this 17-year-old runs away and to the Bronx area, which is, it's called no man's land. There's no police force there. It's all just like gangs going up against each other and holding their little cliques inside of the Bronx area. And so it's like the worst place and you want to be at. And death is like happening every day. It's like so badass there. And so anyway, she runs away and meets Mark Gregory's character, and he takes her in. So now she's kind of like part of the gang, or like a sidekick or whatever. And what happens is she is supposed to be an heiress to this billion-dollar technology company, and the corporation sends in a hired gun who's played by Vic Morrow, who's also like a corrupt police officer, I believe, and to go in and get her. And he's like ruthless. He's like going in. He's like killing people for no reason. Like he loves killing people. He's known as the Hammer. And he used to live in the Bronx. And I think he used to be part of the gang. So he's like a real badass back in the day. And so even though he's getting paid by the corporation to go in there, he can give two F's about the corporation. He doesn't care about the girl, the gangs. He's all about himself. He feels like he's a god. Like he's that powerful, and he's just a maniac. But anyway, I love the soundtrack in this film. They have a reoccurring score that keeps playing over and over again. That's just super cool. And this has such a Warriors vibe to it. It actually has the same thing as Warriors. You know how in Warriors they're lost at a certain part of town and they got to get to another side of the town and they got to go by all these different gang territories and they meet all these different gangs, and the gangs are like dressed up in baseball uniforms and hockey uniforms and all these like over the top like ridiculous costumes. The same shit is in this film. There's actually people dressed up in hockey uniforms with hockey pucks and hockey sticks. And there's like a dance team that like dances and fights, and which is so over the top. And but yeah, man, this is a really good film, man. The first in this trilogy. And I think I heard it's not even the best of the trilogy, man. So I'm really looking forward to watching the other ones, man. Yeah, man, great shit, man. Had a good time. It looks great too. Great Blu-ray rip of this, man. Really good job on it, man. The colors are super vibrant in it. Again, the score is amazing. Vic Morrow's great in it. Now, I so much want to watch these Thunder Warrior movies. I'm probably gonna have to get them on VHS. And I do not want to be a VHS loser, man. I see too many of them on YouTube collecting VHS. It's really pathetic, man, but I don't know. What am I going to do? I got to get VHSs to watch these effing films, man. Really makes me sad, but, oh, so, I don't want to give up a spoiler on this, guys, but the ending of this film is so badass. It's so short, simple, and sweet, and you never would have thought about it. But the ending of this, I would have never thought about it if I was making a movie. But it's just such a brilliant way to end a film and roll the credits that it involves a rope. That's all I'm going to say. And it is phenomenal, guys. Yeah, man. 1990, the Bronx Warriors. Next up, Escape from the Bronx. Let me show off this to you guys. I think I did last week, didn't I? Yeah, I did last week. Cool artwork on everything. In case you guys missed the video, screenshot that. Damn it, I'm hearing that. Stop making noise. All right, last film. I teased this in the community page that no one looks at. And yeah, I've already pre-cut this part right here. But this is a Laserdisc that I've been wanting for quite some time. It's quite an epic Laserdisc, guys. Let's do a little unboxing. Here, act like I'm cutting it with my nail like a badass. Like I'm Ray Marcini. It's actually very well packed. I like the way he did this Laserdisc. Oh shit, it's a lot of glass. Yeah, very good job. I'm gonna reuse this when I sell like an expensive Laserdisc. This is a movie that I did not know about until recently, guys. And I'm a big Brandon Lee fan. Rest in peace again, man. Another person that we lost at such a young age. Obviously, the star of The Crow. But he's also been in, besides The Crow, he's in a lot of like cheese, like Showdown in Little Tokyo, where he plays kind of a cheesy character, and Laser Mission, which is another one. He plays a lot of those, which, you know, he's a badass, but they're just cheesy, over-the-top films. Not too much serious stuff. I think this is pretty effing serious, and very happy to own this in my collection. I was kind of split on the cover art on this. I kind of didn't like it from the eBay listing, but now that I'm looking at it in person, I don't know. It's kind of mysterious, and it's kind of cool. And we have letterboxed edition, the star of The Crow, Brandon Lee, in Legacy of Rage. How badass is that, man? This is so friggin' badass. I'm not going to be able to read that, I can tell you right now. I want to say this is one of his first films to come over to the United States, because they had to dub this. This is definitely dubbed in English language. So I think after that, I don't know if he was in... I thought Brandon Lee spoke good English, but yeah, this is like this is a foreign release. They had to dub it. It wasn't a foreign, it wasn't Japanese, I believe. Check out the back art on there. This is a revenge film, guys. That's all I know about it. I haven't read up too much on this film, but it's definitely a revenge film. Let's see if I can read some of this. Brandon Lee, son of legendary Bruce Lee and universally acclaimed star of The Crow, stars in this gritty thriller drama, directed with visual flair by Ronnie Yu, who directed The Bride with White Hair, Warriors of Virtue. Framed by his best friend for a crime he didn't commit, Brandon is sentenced to prison. After a daring escape from jail, learning of his friend's betrayal, Brandon vows revenge with raw and furious martial arts from Lee and a stunning shootout. I cannot read that word for anything. Stunning shootout. Oh, climax in the style of John Woo. Brandon Lee's only... Oh, okay, here you go. Brandon Lee's only made in Hong Kong film is also a gripping portrayal of Fury Unbound. Legacy of Rage is a fitting memorial to a man destined to greatness, but turned from this world too soon. Torn from this world too soon. So badass. The synopsis is not written on the back of this. Oh, by the way, this has Bolo Young in it, which is really cool. And Michael Wong. Regina Kent. Should we know Regina Kent? I'm not sure. But yeah, man, really cool to pick up a Laserdisc like this. Where are we at? Oh shit, I gotta end this. We're at an hour. We're past an hour, aren't we? Going on for too long. Legacy of Rage. Looks like in minty matte condition, guys. Tight White would definitely be proud. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you for checking out the video. Good luck finding whatever physical media that you are looking for. I'm the PMM, the Physical Media Mac, and I will be back. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace out.